Decolonization. St. Martin's Path to Autonomous Nation. Sponsored by Soualiga Foundation. What is decolonization? To better understand decolonization, we must first get to know the history of the United Nations. Brief history of the United Nations, UN. The UN began in 1945 in San Francisco, California, with 51 founding members, including the Netherlands. United Nations and Decolonization, Part 1. When the UN began in 1945, most of the world's countries were colonized. The United Nations sought to decolonize all countries. United Nations and Decolonization. In 1946, UN Resolution 66 listed all the colonial territories. Curacao and its dependencies were listed in Resolution 66-1. St. Martin's Decolonization History. UN Resolution 66-1 of 1946. St. Martin, formerly Netherlands Antilles, is placed on the list of non-self-governing territories by the UN. St. Martin is under the direct control of the Netherlands. According to Chapter 11 of the UN Charter, St. Martin had no full measure of self-government, nor a right to self-determination. Netherlands attempts to decolonize St. Martin. In 1954, the Netherlands presents the Kingdom Charter to the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. The Kingdom Charter would be used to govern St. Martin. Kingdom Charter fails to meet UN Chapter 11 objectives. In 1955, the UN rejects the Kingdom Charter under UN Resolution 945-X. The UN refuses to declare that the Kingdom Charter gave St. Martin 1. A full measure of self-government. 2. A right of self-determination. 3. Refuse to state that Chapter 11 no longer applies. Decolonization in the 1950s. 4 territories were decolonized during the 1950s. Puerto Rico in 1953. UN declares Chapter 11 no longer applies. Greenland in 1954. UN declares Chapter 11 no longer applies. Alaska, 1959. UN declares Chapter 11 no longer applies. Hawaii, 1959. UN declares Chapter 11 no longer applies. St. Martin, formerly Netherlands Antilles, UN does not declare Chapter 11 no longer applies. Why was the Kingdom Charter rejected by the UN? Appointed governors by the Netherlands. Violation of a right to self-determination. Articles 44, 50, and 51 of the Kingdom Charter did not allow St. Martin to have a full measure of self-government. In 1955, only 28% of the UN General Assembly voted in favor of the Kingdom Charter. Article 44 of the Kingdom Charter violates Chapter 11 of the UN Charter. Article 44 of the Kingdom Charter does not allow St. Martin to make changes to its constitution unless the Netherlands approves. Article 44 violates Chapter 11's objectives of a full measure of self-government. Articles 50 and 51 of the Kingdom Charter violate Chapter 11 of UN Charter. Articles 50 and 51 of the Kingdom Charter allow for the Netherlands to impose higher supervision, external interference, on St. Martin's government. Articles 50 and 51 violate Chapter 11's full measure of self-governance. How can St. Martin become decolonized according to UN Charter, Chapter 11? 1. The appointed governor must be removed. 2. Articles 44, 50, and 51 must be removed from the Kingdom Charter. 3. Once the previous 2 conditions have been met, St. Martin will be decolonized and have a full measure of self-government and a right to self-determination. Chapter 11 will no longer apply to St. Martin.